Have you ever heard of Tanzania? A country famous for its stunning natural beauty, like Mount Kilimanjaro and the wildlife of the Serengeti. But behind these breathtaking landscapes lies a darker side that few people know about. For instance, did you know that Tanzania is one of the countries with the most alarming rates of illegal hunting in the world? Across the savannas, the fight against ivory trafficking is relentless, with international mafias controlling the fate of thousands of elephants. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Behind the scenes, there are reports of labor exploitation in Tanzanite mines, one of the rarest gemstones in the world, extracted almost exclusively in Tanzania. While a few grow rich from these resources, many workers can barely make a living. But is everything in Tanzania overshadowed by problems? Absolutely not. In this video, we'll explore both sides of the story, from its incredible geography and fascinating history to the controversies that make the country so intriguing. Get ready, because we're diving deep into Tanzania, a land of extreme contrasts. Tanzania is located in East Africa, bordered by the Indian Ocean and neighboring countries like Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Zambia, Malawi, and Mozambique. Its strategic position makes it a key connection point between the continent's interior and international maritime routes. Covering an area of approximately 945,087 square kilometers, Tanzania is nearly the size of Venezuela or slightly larger than Egypt. Despite its vast territory, the country has a relatively low population density, with an estimated 65 million inhabitants. The country's climate is as diverse as its geography. In the north, near Mount Kilimanjaro, Africa's highest peak at 5,895 meters, temperatures are cooler, while the southern and coastal regions experience intense heat and humidity. Meanwhile, the savannas have a dry climate, ideal for hosting some of the largest concentrations of wildlife on the planet. Tanzania is also home to three major African lakes: Lake Victoria, the largest in Africa; Lake Tanganyika, the deepest on the continent; and Lake Nyasa, renowned for its crystal-clear beauty. This natural diversity makes the country a true geographic mosaic. However, not everything is a paradise of scenic beauty. Tanzania's geography also presents significant challenges. The vast distances and lack of infrastructure in some remote areas make it difficult to integrate the country and provide basic resources to many communities. Tanzania is not just a country. It is a part of humanity's very beginnings. In the Olduvai Gorge, scientists discovered human fossils dating back over 2 million years, including footprints preserved in volcanic ash that reveal the steps of the earliest hominins. This site is often called the cradle of humankind, and it's easy to see why. Tanzania's history is deeply intertwined with the origins of our species. Fast forward thousands of years, and Tanzania's territory became home to civilizations that relied on hunting, gathering, and later, agriculture. Between the 1st and 5th centuries AD, waves of Bantu migrations reshaped the region. These peoples brought advancements in agriculture, metallurgy, and new languages, laying the cultural foundations that are still visible in the country today. Over time, Tanzania's coast became one of the key trade hubs of the Indian Ocean. Arab, Persian, Indian, and even Chinese traders established trade routes connecting East Africa to the Middle East and Asia. Coastal cities like Kilwa Kisiwani and Zanzibar thrived during the Middle Ages, becoming centers of wealth and culture. Kilwa, for instance, was so prosperous that it was mentioned in the writings of Ibn Battuta, the famous 14th century explorer. But this prosperity came with a dark side. The region also became one of the largest slave markets in the world. Thousands of Africans were captured and sold to the Middle East and other parts of the world through trade routes passing through Zanzibar. This inhumane trade deeply marked the history and culture of the region. In the late 19th century, the scramble for Africa brought Germany to power in the region, naming it Tanganyika. The colonizers established plantations of sisal, coffee, and cotton, forcing the local populations to work under inhumane conditions. During World War I, The British defeated the Germans and took control of the territory, but the oppression and exploitation persisted. However, the spirit of resistance was never extinguished. After World War II, nationalist movements began to emerge, led by figures like Julius Nyerere, a young teacher with a vision for a free and united country. Nyerere founded the political party TANU, Tanganyika African National Union, and under his inspiring leadership, Tanganyika gained its independence in 1961. A few years later, in 1964, Tanganyika joined forces with Zanzibar, which had also recently freed itself from oppressive Arab rule, to form the United Republic of Tanzania. This union was not only political but also cultural, blending the rich Swahili traditions of the coast with the diverse heritage of the mainland. After independence, Julius Nyerere implemented a socialist model known as Ujamaa, which emphasized self-reliance, land collectivization, and strengthening rural communities. While the idea was noble, its execution brought significant economic challenges, leading the country to face financial crises in the 1970s and 1980s. Even so, Tanzania remained stable compared to many of its African neighbors. This period of political stability is often credited to Nyerere's visionary leadership. He voluntarily stepped down from power in 1985, paving the way for a more democratic government and a more open economy. Today, Tanzania bears the marks of its rich and complex history, a nation born from hardship, but defined by unwavering resilience and a vibrant culture that transcends borders. Tanzania is one of those places that feels like it's straight out of a dream. Here, every landscape tells a story, and every corner has something to offer, from thrilling adventures to peaceful retreats. It's no wonder the country attracts millions of tourists every year, eager to experience one of the world's most diverse and enriching destinations. For adventure seekers, Mount Kilimanjaro is undoubtedly one of the top attractions. Climbing this giant isn't just a physical feat. It's a spiritual journey. Depending on the chosen route, the ascent can take 5 to 9 days, taking you through tropical rainforests, arid plains, and finally, glacial landscapes near the summit. But preparation is key. The thin air at high altitudes can cause discomfort, so pacing yourself and relying on experienced guides is essential. Now, imagine being surrounded by thousands of wild animals, witnessing nature's cycle in its purest form. That's the experience offered by Serengeti National Park. During the Great Migration, which takes place between June and September, millions of wildebeest, zebras, and gazelles cross the vast plains in search of grazing land. The spectacle of the Mara River crossing, where the animals brave hungry crocodiles, is breathtaking. Even outside the migration season, the Serengeti never disappoints. Lazy lions resting under trees, majestic elephants roaming the savanna, and flocks of flamingos painting the lakes pink make every visit unique. And who doesn't dream of paradise beaches? Zanzibar is the perfect place to unwind after an adventure. Its crystal clear waters and white sands contrast with the deep blue of the Indian Ocean, creating postcard-worthy scenes. But Zanzibar is more than just beaches. Its historic stone town is a true gem, with narrow streets winding through centuries-old buildings. Here, you can feel the influence of centuries of trade between Africans, Arabs, Indians, and Europeans. For food lovers, Zanzibar is a culinary delight, with spice markets inviting you to taste and smell flavors like cinnamon, cloves, and cardamom. But it's not all relaxation and beauty. Exploring Tanzania requires some precautions. Malaria is a real concern in many areas, especially during the rainy season from November to May. It's essential to take prophylactic medication and use insect repellent. Vaccination against yellow fever is also highly recommended and may be required for entry in some cases. Safety is another consideration. While Tanzania is generally stable and welcoming, petty theft and scams can happen, particularly in busy tourist areas like Dar es Salaam and Arusha. Always keep an eye on your belongings. Avoid displaying valuables, and if possible, hire trusted local guides to explore attractions. Another potential challenge is infrastructure. In major cities, hotels and restaurants are usually of good quality, but in more remote areas like nature reserves, access to electricity and internet may be limited. Be prepared with cash, especially in local currency, as credit cards are not always accepted. Finally, respect the local traditions and customs. Tanzania is culturally diverse, and practices can vary from region to region. In rural areas, communities are often more conservative, so it's best to avoid short or revealing clothing. On the coast, where Arab and Muslim influences are stronger, such as in Zanzibar, this consideration becomes even more important. Despite these challenges, Tanzania rewards every visitor with unforgettable experiences. From golden sunsets over the savannah to the warm hospitality of its people, visiting this country is like stepping into a world where nature and culture coexist in perfect harmony. Just remember, this paradise demands respect and preparation to be fully enjoyed. Tanzania's economy is full of contrasts. On one hand, the country is rich in natural resources and is home to one of the world's rarest gemstones, tanzanite, found exclusively here. On the other hand, many Tanzanians still struggle daily to meet basic needs. Agriculture is the backbone of the economy, employing around 65% of the population. It's common to see small-scale farmers growing maize, cassava, and rice, while crops like coffee, tea, and sisal are exported globally. However, most farmers rely on traditional methods and face challenges such as limited access to modern technology and proper infrastructure. Mining is another key sector, driven by the abundance of gold, diamonds, and natural gas. Tanzanite, famous for its blue-violet brilliance, is a national pride but comes with a controversial history. The gemstone generates millions in profits for some companies, yet many mine workers earn low wages and work in hazardous conditions, a reality that's hard to overlook. Tourism is one of Tanzania's main sources of revenue. Visitors from all over the world come to explore the Serengeti, climb Mount Kilimanjaro, and unwind on Zanzibar's pristine beaches. The industry generates billions of dollars annually, creating jobs and boosting the local economy. However, this growth doesn't always translate into significant improvements in the lives of the population, particularly in more remote areas. For many Tanzanians, daily life is challenging. The average monthly income is around 400,000 Tanzanian shillings, roughly $160. This barely covers basic costs in urban areas. For example, a simple meal at a local restaurant costs about 10,000 shillings, or $4, while renting a modest apartment ranges between 200,000 and 500,000 shillings, about $80 to $200 per month. Many still depend on the informal market or subsistence farming to make ends meet. In recent years, Tanzania has taken steps to change the scenario. Major investments in infrastructure, including new railways and ports, aim to improve connectivity and facilitate trade. Energy projects, particularly those involving renewable sources like hydropower and solar energy, are also expanding, offering hope to regions that previously lacked electricity access. Still, inequality remains a stark reality. While cities like Dar es Salaam are thriving, other regions remain isolated and lack access to basic services. Tanzania has tremendous potential, but its future depends on how it manages its resources and ensures that the benefits are distributed equitably. Tanzania is a land of contrasts, not only in its economy, but also in its culture and society. Its traditions are fascinating, rooted in centuries-old practices. One example is the Maasai, one of the most well-known ethnic groups, recognized for their colorful attire and mesmerizing dances. They lead simple lives, deeply respecting nature and preserving their ancestral customs. For the Maasai, cattle are more than just a food source. They are symbols of wealth, status, and a core part of their identity. Religion also plays a significant role in Tanzania, with most of the population divided between Christianity and Islam, coexisting in relative harmony. In coastal regions like Zanzibar, Muslim culture is predominant, while Christianity is more prevalent in the interior. However, Traditional beliefs still thrive, such as faith in spirits and the use of traditional medicine. Beneath the vibrant culture, though, serious issues demand attention. Corruption is a word that echoes in many conversations. Despite government efforts to combat it, corruption remains a significant barrier to progress. Resources intended for education, healthcare, and infrastructure often disappear through fraudulent schemes. The mining sector, for instance, is one of the hardest hit, with reports of tax evasion and unregulated exploitation. One of the most controversial challenges is the impact of poaching. Tanzania boasts one of the richest biodiversities on the planet, but is also severely affected by wildlife trafficking. International mafias profit millions from the ivory and rhino horn trade, while park rangers risk their lives to protect these animals. This illegal trade has deep roots and often involves influential figures, making effective combat a daunting task. The issues don't stop there. The country faces significant social challenges, such as child marriage and female genital mutilation, practices that still persist in some rural communities despite being outlawed. Local and international organizations are working tirelessly to eradicate these practices, but cultural change is slow. Another area of tension is press freedom. Despite progress in some areas, journalists and activists often face threats and censorship when addressing sensitive topics like corruption or government decisions. This creates an environment where many choose silence to avoid repercussions. Yet, not everything is a challenge. Tanzania is also a symbol of resilience and hope. Tanzanians are known for their hospitality and optimism, even in the face of adversity. Many young people are actively participating in initiatives promoting education, entrepreneurship, and sustainability. Community projects are transforming isolated villages into models of local development, proving that even with limited resources, change is possible. Tanzania is a land of extremes, where the natural beauty of its landscapes contrasts with the daily challenges its people face. From Mount Kilimanjaro to the Serengeti's vast savannas, it reminds us of the grandeur and complexity of our planet. At the same time, stories of resource exploitation, corruption, and social inequality reveal a side that often goes unnoticed by visitors. Yet, Tanzania is much more than its struggles. It's a place where ancestral traditions remain vibrant, where young entrepreneurs are reimagining the future, and where local and international efforts are changing realities once thought unchangeable. Despite the challenges, there's a sense of hope in the air. Sustainable tourism is on the rise, proving that it's possible to protect the environment while boosting the economy. Educational initiatives are transforming generations, breaking the cycle of poverty in remote communities. And above all, the Tanzanian people continue to demonstrate that resilience and hospitality are hallmarks of this remarkable nation. So, when you think of Tanzania, remember, it's a place where contrasts not only divide, but also highlight the potential for a more balanced future. If there's one lesson Tanzania teaches us, it's that even amid adversity, there is beauty, strength, and the power to reinvent.